Oh, good night last night because we got to all the LGD, which was really the trick to saving money. However, it didn't really put us into an optimal position, so some stuff to work on. Generally, the projections turned out pretty good. Pangwon just had a really bad map two or map one, just didn't reach it over. Also, we did well on the betting side. Nongshim, as expected, was a bad bet, but I really suckered myself into it. But luckily, by doing the round robin with the parlays, we did come out of that a little bit ahead, as well as in the end, I did bet the Genji over 27.5, and I luckily guessed map two, where they had 34 kills on their own. So it ended up being a pretty decent night. I didn't enter enough into DFS, but it was a winning night. It was it was a good night overall. I should have gotten more into it. But I hope you had a good day. Here's the optimal behind me is the optimal, I guess like over my shoulder, on the screen, right in the middle of your screen, right in the middle of your screen. You can see the optimal from last night. It's a mess. Having Gigi, um, in the optimal. He was like the highest scoring non ADC. He might have been like a couple points below Vikla. Vikla really overscored. The LGD BFX stack ended up working out extremely well. The trick was to just get to alternate ADCs and to just use the savings as available. Team for LGD was the highest scorer. Sassy at LGD was also the highest scorer and being two of the cheapest ones. So anyways, that's what it looks like. Scored 738.39. What actually won the um, main was this, uh, which is fine. Like it's a nice. They did AL, AL, AL. So it's just AL, LGD. They did it. Sirloins, congratulations. No chop. I thought for sure LGD was going to be just incredibly owned. It people wanted to pay for names like BLG, which ended up going three maps like I expected. So that paid off really well, even though, again, don't take those over 2.5 maps. Those are sucker bets unless you have a really strong stance, which I did last night, and we just got lucky on that. Talking about tonight, it's four gamer. I think this is a much more interesting slate in the sense that anything can happen. I have some pretty strong stances, but I think that you can just pick your own. A lot of these are should more reliably be pick'ems. You'll know for the over 2.5 maps, all of these are set at, we have two set at even and one set pretty close to even. And then, of course, the DKD and Supers match is predicted to be a reliable 2-0. I think that's actually kind of in question. I think there's some really strong points for D and Supers here. And I think if you were looking to, I will tell you, again, because I'm irresponsible with money, this is one that I have already bet. When Supers came out, I felt like 400 was a decent enough number. I would have liked a better number because I'm greedy, but plus 425 for DN Supers money line meant that you could get the over 1.5. I don't know what I got it for. It was over even. I would take the plus 1.5 here in a heartbeat at anything even money. I I think that the strengths of DNS match very nicely to the weaknesses of Damwon. Um, I think, like I said before, I think Dudu is a really incredible player. I think that Siwoo is exactly the kind of person that, because we know he's hit and miss and inconsistent, I think this is a good matchup for Dudu. Similarly, I expected them to play Life last time, and they did, even though everybody else had projected for it to be Peter. I don't know why. Life is better. They did. I feel like they were pretty competitive in that match, even though they lost. Or no, they won. I think they won. No, they lost to KT. Whatever. I'm not going to look it up. But they were competitive. They won map one, then they got swept back to back. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. I like Life here. I think the life experience is going to be a beneficial factor against Career, who has been good. Similarly, to do like a little overall discourse here, there is one major advantage though for DK. But first, I don't think these bot lanes have an extreme advantage to one side or the other. I think that Smash is at this point probably better than Duck Dom. Duck Dom has had high points, but we seem to be past that. I do feel like Doodoo is an advantage in the top lane. I feel like Lucid is clearly an advantage for DK in the jungle. Um, Showmaker is going to make or break this game easily. Which is to say, if we look at the data that we have of just the first few days, one thing that we've noted, if you go through it, and I recommend oracleselixir.com, I think it's a really great site. The guy puts all the data in there. You should support him. I posted about this a lot on Twitter and in Discords before, but that's where I get a lot of my data. It's where most people that use actual data get the data because it's well correlated and they have a Discord and everything. But yeah, the one thing we can know is that mid has been running these games. I think that there's an idea right now that ADCs are more important than they are, but the data doesn't really support that. What we're seeing is the winners are mostly being decided, or the winning team is heavily correlated to the metrics of the mid lane. And that is a real problem for any team that has Smash and is going to need Showmaker to carry. However, Showmaker is definitely better than Closer and has been for some time, most of his life, probably for the rest of his life. However, I still like DNS here. I still like the supers, the poopers, the scoopers. I expect for them to be competitive in this matchup, even if they lose both maps. Uh, but in the larger note again, I would recommend for I would recommend raising all projections, whether you use my projections or use somebody else's projections. I would recommend raising projections for the mid laners, maybe by as much as 10% if you want to try and get ahead of trend and you want to create some separation from the rest of the field. Uh, this guy, Frank, who's incredible. I can't remember his Twitter handle. He's got an excellent DFS Discord. The guy's very, very smart. He was the first person before day one. We were chatting, and he's like, I'm going mid laner for captain. It's a way to differentiate on a slate where everybody's prices are set. I really want to go mid lane. It'll give me some differentiation. And he didn't like take anything down because it just didn't fall that way. But the data says that at least so far, we only have a few days worth of data, but says that mid laners are actually what we should be looking at more for fantasy than we did all last year, where mid laners were kind of relegated to the bin of last one in. I think for a lot of us fantasy players. So here, I feel like this price is wrong. My model thinks the price is correct. Like the model actually thinks that DK should be more favored, but I think the model's wrong because it's relying on data that's just what we have for career, what we have for Smash are really reliant on a bunch of other things. And Siwo just he didn't look great at Demacia. He really seemed to fall off from his highs of over a year ago. I like this DNS matchup. I think for fantasy, what my expectations would be a DK 2-0 win. Vegas has it priced strongly as a DK 2-0. For when we play around in Fantasy Cruncher, I've already built the thing to save a few minutes. I have put DNS in as a 2-1 win. I feel like if they win, it'll be 2-1, and DK is 2-0, which I think is maybe a little aggressive, but you can change that if you want to. I want to see what that looks like. HLAT1 is going to be a bad day for me. I'm going to lose a lot of money today because guess what? I'm playing HLE. Like, why wouldn't I? Why would I go in here and play T1 like somebody who likes money and wants to win? Um, Again, talking about mid laners, you have to decide what faker we're going to get. Last year, I think, was statistically one of his best seasons, which is crazy. The guy is so amazing, just truly an incredible player. Absolute first ballot Hall of Famer. They're going to build the Hall of Fame at his house, probably. Like, this guy's incredible. But I think that the current environment may be well built for a player like Zeka. And I think that HLE as a team can give Zeka the tools to make that happen. I'm not so sure that we get that from T1. Doran is an incredible top laner. Zeus is an incredible top laner, line by line. I feel like HLE T1 last year, we would have gone, well, these teams are pretty close. I remember a lot of times being like, oh, yeah, HLE are dogs at plus 120 or whatever, and I'll take them here. For price, HLE should be priced basically like a coin flip. This year, HLE picked up Kanavi, which Kanavi, I think, is great. I think it's going to match the environment as we have it right now very well. I think he's a guy who can help them get out to an early lead, and I think we should expect games to be based more on early game play, or those first 15 minutes are maybe more important, which is great for viewing. But it really changes the way that teams have to draft and the teams have to play. And I think that Kanavi and Zayas and Zeka really have the opportunity to push the envelope there. My problem with this HLE team is in Guma. I'm not sure what this guy has left in the tank. He looked good last year. Like he obviously had some struggles. There was the problem with Smash because remember Guma and Smash were both on T1 last year, and that was so poorly handled. And Smash, of course, we all thought was going to be T1's ADC for the future. He was in developmental. He had been pretty good publicly. He wasn't like a whiny baby about it. He just took his lumps and expected him to step up. And instead, they brought in Pays. They signed an outside body, and I, I think that uh, to go back to the previous match, that also raises some questions for me. But clearly they felt like Pays was the better option than Smash for T1. So but Pays and Guma, I prefer Pays. And Keria is maybe the greatest bot. I mean, maybe the greatest support. Like, I think he's the best playing. I've talked about this in every video for every slate he's been in. I think the guy's amazing. So, these teams seem fairly evenly matched. I would probably lean towards T1 just for liking their bot lane a little bit better, and owner has been really consistent over time, and he had a great season last year. And T1 just the players versus the team results for T1, I think are a little scary. And I think this was a problem for them last year as the team results weren't really matching the quality of play that individual players were having in maps and in matches. Um, Gun to head, if I had to pick a winner, I would side with Vegas and say it's T1. For anything where we're talking odds or advantage like DFS or gambling, I think HLE should be live here, and I think very live. This is another one where maybe we do the sucker bet and we take the over 2.5 maps. Um, I don't have a position in this yet, but I'm gonna take HLE. Like, and the price is such that I'd rather have HLE plus 1.5, but I'm just gonna end up taking the HLE money line and losing the unit. Like, it just feels right. Because I think if they win map one, there's a chance they just roll it over in map two. And I think that's a better chance than taking the over 2.5. They're just the dollar advantage isn't good enough. So, uh, man, this is such a wild slate. Third match, LNG, OMG, pick it. I don't care what Vegas says. I think LNG should be favored here, except remember how we were talking about mid laners? I think Bulldog is fucking garbage. I've never liked the guy. I didn't like him at all in the LCK. I don't like him here. I think this is just like I think he's not good and he shouldn't be starting. And you know what? Sheer probably also is a very borderline starter. I love Kroko. I think Kroko's a great jungler. 1x in, I think, represents something for this team. This team is crazy though, this LNG team. Because like missing, he hadn't played since 2023. Was that right? I have in my mind I'm thinking that missing hadn't played since 2023. That can't possibly be right. I think that is, though. I think that is correct. Let's take a look. Let's look real quick here. Because I think that he's. Oh, no. He was with JDG last year. Yeah. He was with JDG last year and then got booted for Xiao. for the third split and finals because of their, let's say, poor performance. He was part of the problem there in JDG, and like he might have stepped away. I can't remember the exact thing, but yeah, no, he played. He's been playing. I don't know who I'm thinking of, but there's somebody. Um, yeah, okay. But I mean, like, I think LNG are live here. Neither of these teams are good. OMG, like, look at these teams. Look at these names. Am I supposed to believe that Harry is that much better than Sheer? I mean, Krako is definitely better than Juhan. I like Hachao, mid laner for OMG. Starry looked really good in Demacia Cup, if that means anything. Moham, if he was ever good in the LCK, but like Moham, I'm trying to remember here. Moham didn't even play. I think he also was one that didn't play in Split 3 last season because he was on one of the teams that didn't qualify. Like, these players are really. I don't feel like there's a quality of play here to say with any conviction that one team should just be dominating the other. I think that like the over 2.5 being set at around even is right. I think this is likely to go 3 games. And I put this as both 2-1 in the model. So I think if LNG wins, they're just as likely to win. They're more likely to win 2-1 than they are to win 2-0. Same thing for OMG. Um, this is an interesting one though because I think OMG might score better in a 2-1 and that my projections might not account for that. By the way, I think for my projections that we're going to look at in a second, I put it as HLE 2-1 and T1 2-0. This WEEDG game is also similarly like bonkers. Yao Yao. Where did Yao Yao play last year? See, this is what happens. I do everything ahead of time and then I forget. Yao Yao. Yao Yao hasn't played since 2023. When I was building models this morning, I looked at some of this. So I was like, I know there's some support that hasn't played in a long time. But yeah, Yao Yao hadn't played since 2023. He played in Demacia Cup. You can pick those results. These green ones are wins, and the blue ones are losses. And it didn't do great. It didn't do great. I do think there's something to be said though for this being an OMG or a WE team that mostly have players. Like people like Monkey. Uh, you know what? I feel pretty prepared to take a strong stance here that this is going to be an ADG win. My problem is I think Karis is better than Angel. Angel burnt me so bad back when he was on RNG after his first season over that I haven't been able to emotionally overcome it. When I'm not a big fan of Perukia, but these bot lanes are both pretty bad, and so I'll just side with Leave, who I think is the best of the 4 players we'll see in the bot lane. Um, I really like Xiao Hao. I think he's good. He's very inconsistent, but his highs are so incredibly high that for fantasy purposes, I guess you could say this about Monkey as well. But for fantasy purposes, I prefer it. ZDZ versus Cube is an interesting lane matchup. Um, I don't know. I mean, I feel pretty strongly that this should be EDG, but I will say the model had it close to a pick'em. But I don't. I was prepared to argue that this should be a pick'em, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't. I have a strong stance on EDG that it's just coming to me. It's just like feeling my soul, like the comfort of Christ just coming into me as I stand before the altar of terrible fucking LPL players. And I ask them, I say, Father Leave, can you muster a win? And he says to me, I don't know, son, good luck. This is Don't get involved in this. Don't put your money here unless you're willing to gamble. If you're not willing to gamble, watch my videos. Because everything I say is so goddamn stupid. It's all just guesses. It's all just guesses. I do some modeling and then I go, oh, the model says it should be about a pick'em, but I think, and then I think I know more than the model. But also, the model sometimes will say, hey, you think that this is good, but in fact it's not. And I go, okay, model, you've got a great point. And then I follow the model and I fucking lose. So it's just different ways that you want to lose money. You look at those and you go, well, what do I do? Maybe you like monkey. And you go, I like monkey. I like to say monkey. Monkey plays, interesting champions. I think his champion pool is too small, but whatever. But he plays interesting champions. I feel like this could do it. And you know what? Karis is better than Angel. Angel's terrible. And we liked Karis a little bit back when he was in the LCK. So maybe we go with Karis here and we say, yeah, remember Brad just said that mid lane was the most important lane. So let's follow those guidelines and play Karis and play WE. And I think WE 2-0. And you know what? Maybe it'll be WE 2-0. I don't fucking know. I don't know. I prefer EDG here. Obviously, I'm having like a little bit of a meltdown on it. This is an interesting slate. This is a great slate to put a lot of entries in. They shrunk the size of the main, so but we should be able to fill it tonight if the same number of people join, which they won't because it's got a smaller prize pool. Anyways, join the $5 1K to first. It's a better contest, kind of, than the $20 5K to first. But if you're only playing one lineup, you should actually play it in the $20 5K to first, where you will be a higher place than any other contest. It's actually the best contest for single entry outside of cash games and single entry. But if you want to play single entry and have a chance at winning decent money, the LOL main, once they cut it down a bit like this, is actually an incredible contest because you will get better odds at winning the top prize than you will in the $5 contest, even though there's more entrants because of the way in which the contest is structured. I know it's strange, but you are going to have a better ROI long term in that $20 main than you are the $5 sub if you're only playing one lineup. Most people don't want to put 20 bucks into that lineup because they're like, oh, some idiot's going to play 100 fucking lineups so they can cover both sides of this WEDG match. And you know what? They're probably right. I don't know. Just do whatever's right for you. You can tell where I'm at today. Uh, let's look at let's look at some lineups just for the fun of it. Let's pick some teams. If we just go, you know what? I think I might actually change this to where did I put EG? EG I put in as 2-0. Okay. No. All right. All right. Let's look at let's see what we can afford in BKEDG. Yeah, I like it. It's great. This is good. Yeah, let's do this. I think Leave is a great play. Like, this is good. Yeah. If we play DNF, we should be able to get to just about anything. Let's build. First of all, limit opposing players to 0. Let's put some team stacks in here. We're just going to look at 4 threes. The larger the slate is, so like last night had 5 teams on it, 5 matches. If it's got 5 matches, I would probably only play 4-3. For a day like today, you could do 4-2-1 and open it for 4-3. So the best way to do that is to put it as um, a 4 stack and a 2 stack, and then let it find that third piece. Though this is going to be real messy in a second. Yeah. Yeah, because it's gonna give us a dog as the one-off just for pricing. Well, yeah, this isn't how I want to build today. Let's just do 4 and 3 stacks and let's see what the best 4-3 is. Okay, so this is an interesting one. LNG T1. Remember, LNG are favored. They're minus 185. T1 are favored minus 185. So this is one we can do. Let's I like oh you know what? This is what I'm gonna play here. You can see it right here. This number 5. 1XN Sheer Zhao Hao Bulldog. This looks good. I might prefer number 6. 1XN Sheer. I don't want to play Sheer, but it looks like the value is too good. We can look at what we get without shear, though. Yep, we can do it with ZDZ. Look over here at number 4. This is really nice. Put shear back in, but let's take out LNG entirely. So we're seeing HLE matchups here. This is cool, 47,400. HLE, EDG. It's interesting to see a WET1 matchup come up. Yeah, HLE, EDG. All right, let's look at pricing. I didn't do a very good job of looking at pricing today, I guess. Sort by salary. Yeah, EDG are the most expensive on the slate. Yeah, the pricing leads me to think that we want to play. Let's I want to look at an HLE. We've looked at HLE EDG. These are cool, especially because you could afford to go ADC captain, but projections have it as the 10th best lineup is with Leave at captain, which still has quite a bit of money on the table. You'll note here. I kind of like the idea of going Kanavi or Zhao captain. These are two of the best scoring junglers that are we're going to see at all in any of these leagues. Like both these guys have huge. I mean, they have massive, more than 100-point upside. And I like the idea of if I'm going to get to HLE as dogs, this feels right. Probably with like the Zhao captain, um, something more like this. Probably let's lock Perukia. Even though Delight projects a little bit better, let's lock Perukia and see what that looks like. Yeah, there's a lot of ways to get this. I don't mind leave captain with Guma, but I like the idea of getting to jungler. Yeah, because I'm gonna cross off personally. You saw some T1 lineups that came out, but I'm personally taking T1 out of the player pool for me tonight. I feel like that's with the number of lineups that I'm willing to play, the amount of money I'm willing to risk. I don't really want to put T1 in there. If T1 win and they break the slate, then I'm gonna lose. But these matchups in the LPL are bad, and I think that they have real upside. But they might also just score very poorly, as happens when we see two bad teams. But I think the current environment is going to push those teams to fight more. I like getting to some supers, but I don't think even at value that what their projections are going to get them there. Well, see, no, they project pretty well actually. Yeah, HLE DK if we're playing HLE. If you take that game out entirely, like if you like T1's gonna win, but I think it's gonna be 2-1. I don't think they're gonna score very well, and you take that out. Um, and then we leave them both sides of LNG OMG, even though I think LNG are appropriately favored. You know, you get LNG, DK, LNG, EDG. This is what we saw before. I don't know that we're gonna see anything else here. Yeah, just so much. Like LNG, even at price, are just they really project to be such good values if they're able to get this covered. If we take just them out, so this is all we're working with here is DNS, DK, OMG, and EDG are the four teams. And it's still just going to be EDG, DK. Okay. Yeah, here we have some DN supers. Zhao captain, Zhao. Yeah, I mean, if you like my projections, you think my projections are right. And consistently, I'm better than everyone else at projections, but, it's still a fucking guess. But if you like my model, you think early season is a good time to push it. I think, looking at I'm interested in heavily going into Zhao captain tonight. because I think that like Lucid Zhao Hao, this is an excellent pairing of captain and under. I like it more than I think I like it more than mid captain. And it leaves just like a lot of money on the table possibly. If we put everyone back in and just look at general projections. Yeah, Kanavi, Zhao Hao are right underneath 1xn. 1xn's projection is insane, by the way. If you didn't look at that on the sheet, 1xn projects for 124, 126. That projection's based on data and modeling, but it's wrong. It's fucking wrong. Like you know what? Let's manually adjust this. There's no way he's scoring 126. Like I'll let him be the highest, but this is just irresponsible of me to have left it like this. What's our next highest? Is 105, about with 109 because they're major dogs. But LNG is favorites. This is just wrong. Let's move this to 117, 116. This is sometimes what it looks like. Sorry. Like usually I would never manually adjust, but that number's just too much. And 126, 124, that's too much. Yeah, let's take 10 points off. Let's see if we can. I'm sure that that will make some difference, but I don't think it'll make that much difference. Yeah, it's still going to be 1x and a lot. Though it does push some Lucid Captain here to the top. Okay, so that makes a significant difference. We see some Lucid Captain, Croco Captain. It's just so hard to get away from 1xn if we see what we should expect to see from him. Like, let's just run through a couple for fun. Let's look at DNF LNG or DNS LNG. Yeah, it wants Piosic captain. I'd be more inclined to go Croco. I don't think you want to go double dog, double LCK, but boy, if you did, they might buy a big house where you both could live. If I was a sculptor, um, I'm gonna get to an irresponsible amount of DNS. I think the more I talk about it, though, the more I dislike it. The more it seems like it's a clear DK spot. Anyways, for tonight, I think this LNG EDG is probably where to live. I want to pepper in some HLE, which doesn't move the needle a lot. You can go 1xn captain, or like I talked about too much, you can go Kanavi, Croco captain. Um, I do really like. I'm gonna end up playing a lot of LNG, but I want to limit my exposure to Sheer and Bulldog. I think that OMG are also pretty interesting. Like everything is pretty interesting on this slate to me. But Joao Kanavi is just it just feels too good. If I were playing one lineup today, I would play LNG EDG. If I were playing two lineups, my second lineup, so something like one of these top eight. If I were playing one lineup, this is what I play. If I were playing two lineups, it's going to be HLE, LNG, or HLE, EDG. So, because that allows both of them to potentially cash without going into, playing opponents. So, those are the two I'd look at. Those would be my top three out the gate. Pick HLE with one, whether you like LNG or EDG more. I think I think EDG should probably be more favored. Let's look up Bovada real quick. Something I know. Good. I guess one thing we should look at is we should look and see if there's any big notes. Yeah, DK, this 27 and a half. I expect DNS to be somewhat competitive, so let's take the overs. So over 27 and a half. DK wins, they forecast to be almost 32. DNS wins, it forecast for 25. So if DNS wins, this is losing money, but I think if you like DK, I would probably take the over 27 and a half and slide all the money line stuff. If you like DNS like I do, taking the money line plus 1.5, both at plus money, um, is good. Hanwha T1, like I said, I'm on the money line for Hanwha. LPL, I don't think there was anything note else there. Yeah, you could look at the overs, but I prefer the money line there. The overs might be the better bet, the kill overs. LNG, OMG. Grinding says that I feel like there's a good argument that if LNG win, but they don't even have LNG, OMG up on Bovada. That's very interesting. I'm gonna have to figure out why they have pulled it, but I might look at the -1.5 for LNG. EDG, that's you can take the sweep there or the money line. You can take WE plus 1.5 at bad money or the over 2.5 at even, but I think the -1.5. Plus 1267 there. So if you're looking for a desperate parlay, that's the desperate parlay. You need DN Supers to win a match. You need Hanwha's Dogs to win 2 maps. You need EDG to win 2 maps without losing one. It's a lot of needles to thread. It's probably not a great parlay. Singles, I feel like we should hit. We should hit at least one of these and only lose one unit. Ah, damn it. Oh, okay. I hope you guys have a great day. I'll talk to you tomorrow or whatever. Reach out if you like the videos. I don't know. I don't think anybody actually watches these, but if you do, just like the video or leave a comment or hit me up on Twitter or whatever. Um, but I appreciate you if you made it through all this. Good, goddamn good luck tonight, guys.